everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Indie Film Cafe Spotlight. I'm your old pal, the Moo Cow, aka Paul Presenza, and as usual, I am joined by
Jonathan A. Moody. And I have Rocky over here as well, but he's hiding. He's running away from me.
yeah, he's a little camera shy. Well, together we are joined by someone who we can't wait to talk to. Please introduce yourself, sir.
I am Fred Taulbee, director of Gothic Vampires from Hell.
Woo!
Yay! Thank you, sir, for coming on our show.
Which I guess is a sneak preview that we reviewed that movie, and that is why Paul asked you to come on here and everything. So I think that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me.
I can't help it. I sort of had fun with that movie. I really did. And the thing is it's a time period that I was very, nostalgic for. In the early 90s, I lived near Philadelphia, and I'm telling you, we had a number of goth clubs there. Pulsations had a goth club, the bank had a goth club, and I distinctly remember going and doing the whole goth, oh my goth thing. And Cleopatra Records were a big deal. I used to get their DVD samplers. So this was kind of a lot of nostalgia for me. And I just wondered if that kind of hits you the same way, Fred, and that's maybe why you got involved?
Not necessarily why I got involved. No, I started working for the producer. I'd moved up to LA from the city of Orange in 2004 and went right away working. One of my friends hooked me up with the producer, Dave Sterling.
We know
Uh,
Dave.
yeah, yeah. And then I worked on a couple of films with him as a just all around guy. And then he asked me to direct this one.
Wow. And what did you think? I mean, you hadn't really directed before, right?
I did some short work in film school.
Okay.
It was my first feature, my only feature actually. Still, I'm trying to resolve that. Um, uh, yeah, I just happened upon it and did it.
Wow. So
Well,
when
that's
the
awesome.
opportunity came, you sort of jumped at it.
Totally, that was my goal. I mean, that was. I mean, I had been studying low budget filmmaking, and I knew that was the way in to get out there and try to go for the low budget stuff. And I hooked up. I think I hooked up with Dave Sterling through uh, Louis Schoenbrunn, who worked for him as well. He's the director of The Amazing Bulk,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
and also an editor, and he's directed some other films too. Him and I are good friends still. Yeah. Yeah.
We are planning to do the Amazing Bulk at some point for Indie Film
Absolutely.
Cafe.
Cool.
Uh,
Cool. He's a
it's
good
either
guy.
going to be Paul or my pick. Either
We're
one.
both fighting over that one.
Yeah, so whoever does it first gets it. But it's one of those ones that we absolutely adore for kind of not being the greatest, but it's fun,
It's
you know.
fun.
You know what? You said fun earlier. Lewis had a great time making that movie. He just had fun. He loves it. He adores it. It's his child, and he'll promote it all as much as he wants. He just loves it. And also, that's the one thing you were talking about fun earlier about the '90s and everything, uh, and Cleopatra Records and how everything was fun back then. Uh, and I always think this. I always think that when I came home from shooting this movie, I didn't sleep much. I slept like 4 hours a night, and I
Mm.
realized that this is why even bad movies get made because it's fun making a movie. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just fun. It's just seeing it all come together. It doesn't matter. Doesn't necessarily matter the quality, you know.
Well, I mean,
So
go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to ask the step up from directing a few shorts in school to doing your first feature must have probably been quite a lot of anxiety, I imagine. And how did you kind of handle that?
I think it was positive anxiety. When Dave asked me to do this film, I went and I rewrote the script and I had made plans and I committed to making a film in the style of Dave Sterling. Uh, there wasn't a lot of I mean, anxiety, yeah, I wasn't nervous at all. This is what I wanted to do. This is what I planned to do, and it was cool to see my plans come together.
I asked specifically because it seemed like there were a number of either first time actors or people who just didn't seem to have a whole lot of experience, and yet they still kind of came off as if they knew what they were doing. So I kind of thought that was pretty amazing.
There is there's two there's a lot of scenes. So I shot it was a 6 day shoot. I shot the film for 5 days, and me and the DP were fired. So the final cut, I had nothing to do with the final cut or anything. And there were several sequences that were shot by other people. As you can see on IMDb, there's two other names associated with the directorship of this movie. And I, well, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. What was I saying?
So you were saying you got basically you and the DP got canned. So
Yeah, oh,
then
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I worked with the main actors. There were some scenes like I scrubbed through the movie earlier today, and there's some scenes with a door guy that I didn't shoot. I didn't do, had nothing to do with the digital stuff, and also
That
the
was
son.
Crowley.
Yeah, the son of who's the I can't think of his name right now. The mass murderer from the '60s, Sharon Tate.
Oh, Charles
Oh,
Manson?
Manson.
One of his sons is in the movie. Uh,
What?
I did not shoot that part. Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Wait. Are you
Uh,
saying you would have said no if Charles Manson's
I mean,
son
that's a
came
tidbit I
in?
never heard.
no. I'm just trying to distinguish when you talked about asked me about the actors, and there are some I definitely worked with and some I did not. I would not have turned it down with him. So I'm not sure. Uh, so I'm not. So what did you like about what acting shots are you referencing?
Well, the three actors who stood out to me, you've already named one of them because Crowley was just amazing. But I mean, I could not help but fall for Jessica Remmer's character. She was absolutely so sweet, and I loved her. I don't know where she came from, but she was really nice. And then the lead, I had so many questions about the lead guy because he vanished. Where did he come from and what happened?
uh, Working at this level, that happens a lot, I suppose. A lot of, especially in LA. That was in LA. We were in
Hmm.
shooting that in LA, and uh, that's where people go to become a star. And I guess once they get started, sometimes it's not what it is, and they move on. I'll address Jessica Remmers. I had a blast with Jessica Remmers, a professional blast.
Hmm.
Uh, I worked with her. She was a real hardcore method actor, and she just I learned a lot about directing different types of people. And with her, I just gave her time and let her do what she thought was right. And I felt like those are my favorite scenes from the movie.
Yeah, she really
Yeah, she
stood
was
out.
great. She was
Yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
I liked her a lot.
And she seemed to have real chemistry with the lead too. And that's kind of why I was surprised when I went back to do some research on it, and I found that the lead didn't really seem to have much. Not only did he not have much experience, but he didn't seem to go on more. I mean, it's not like the guy couldn't do the line deliveries or seemed awkward or whatever. He seemed spot on. So I
Yeah,
was just curious about what happened there.
yeah. I'm not sure. I think at the advent of social media, especially when Facebook really picked up, I hunted all of them down and printed them. Uh, but we didn't talk much, and by now we've all lost ways. We weren't the tight family at the time. It was a 6 day shoot, and I barely heard from most of them again. Uh, but I'm not sure what happened with him.
Okay. And then the Crowley character, my favorite part of the movie is when he's at the door and the underage girl's trying to get in.
Oh
And
yeah,
he's so bitchy about it. That really cracked me up because
yeah,
that
he is great.
I have seen that in real life happen exactly like that.
You were talking about bars earlier, about the goth clubs, rather. No, I didn't shoot the scenes with Crowley, but we did go to Bar Sinister in LA, on Saturday nights, this bar is called Bar Sinister. It's on Cherokee Lane or something like that. It's a great. It has a bar on one side and a club on the other, and like every night, it was a different type. Anyway, great burgers at that bar place.
Ooh, that
Was
sounds
there a particular reason why you guys were like let go only a day, before you guys were able to wrap?
Yeah, I was just researching the DP. He goes by, he's got I believe, a Polish name or something, and he changed his name a little bit. But he went on to do some special did a lot of video effects, computer effects. I think I have his name up here somewhere. Ian. Uh, he goes by Ian Marks now. Uh, we were a team, and we shot for 5 days. The problem was I was trying to shoot a Dave Sterling movie, and he was trying to shoot a great film. You know what I mean? And
Right. Yeah.
I got no problem with that, with his principles, but it didn't work out. And if you watch the film, I scrubbed through the film earlier today, and I noticed how some scenes look fantastic and some don't. I mean,
right.
the 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 window of how good some scenes look and how bad other scenes look is pretty wide. There's a lot of
Mhm.
lassitude there. Um, but and anyway, so Dave Sterling told us on the fifth day that on the after the fifth day, he told us that was it. He was going to have someone else finish the film on both of us. So we let both of us go. Yeah.
Wow.
The funny thing is, I sensed it. I knew it. And on that fifth day before he told us, I ran out. We were wrapping up. I ran to the store and got a 6-pack of Red Stripe, and somehow I knew it was going to be it. And I had one with Ian and some other people, and that was it. It was the last time I saw him.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
That's a shame. Um, so we definitely noticed that there was an inconsistency in the way that the film looked from scene to scene.
Yeah.
The other thing that really kind of stood out was the special effects, especially the blood effects. Oh my God. It's not like the little bit of blood, it would be fountains of blood pouring out.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
You got that guy Ron Karkoska.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about I mostly remember I think it was the first scene I shot was with him and last guy's name is Buñuel. He's actually a relative of Louis Buñuel, the guy who gets
Mhm.
killed in the beginning. Ron, the special effects guy, was using a fire extinguisher to pump the blood, and it was an inordinate amount of blood, which I was all for. He was all for, and Dave Sterling was all for. So he did most of the rest of the gore effects too, I believe.
Yeah, it would be striking because the vampires would bite them, and then there'd be this fountain, and then they'd sort of do their vampire thing, and I'm like, man, if I were a vampire, I'd probably be drinking all of that rather than letting it go to waste.
That too. Yeah, yeah. Not a lot of detail all the time in that kind of stuff.
That would have been funny though, like if they put their face down there when the blood's coming out,
Maybe
trying to do
maybe
that.
put a Ziploc bag, store some from later. Some leftovers.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Where's that movie at?
I don't. It's somewhere. I'm sure.
Yeah.
If it's not Sterling, somebody else will do it.
And I'm kind of cursed in a way because, like, Jonathan is in the business, so he understands the way things are done, and he sees it through that kind of lens. Where
Yeah.
I'm an archaeologist, so I'm used to being in the field and finding itty bitty little bits of data that we happen to find. So background stuff, little bitty things stick out to me in a way that I don't think happens to a lot of people, and they becomes distracting. If I see something on the wall that really shouldn't be there, it bothers me, and I'm like, did somebody do that on purpose? Is that a Kubrick thing, or did they just not care? And it's just
Right.
there for the hell of it.
Yeah,
But
when you don't have a production designer or a script supervisor or something like that for these low budget films, yeah, that happens
Yeah.
quite a bit, I guess.
Well, it's also and from what Fred, you've worked on a feature film. I actually have not directed a feature film yet. We're working on it, but the when you work on something like that, and you're using locations like person's house or something, you can't really move a lot of stuff sometimes because you don't want to ruin something, or you don't want to break something, or they tell you don't move
Right,
something,
that too.
and
Yeah, yeah.
you
I always
know
every film I've worked on that was on a location, something has been destroyed. You have to just commit to that. Something's gonna be destroyed.
I remember the one we did, the Reptoids Walk Among Us, where there was a scene where someone gets killed in a bathroom, and they clearly put plastic tarps down in the bathroom in the scene so that they wouldn't ruin the person's bathroom, whoever it was.
That, that's the struggle of independent filmmaking and low budget filmmaking. I fantasize about filmmaking all the time, and I think about how to get by all that. And you can't go and rent a studio. You can't go even rent a warehouse and make a studio. I mean, that's a lot of money. That costs
Right,
money.
right. And that's sort of the big thing too, is back in the day when Ed Wood was making his movies, you could actually do that. You could go and cheaply rent a small studio for a day. They had that set up there for that. They don't
I
happen.
just watched. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying they don't do that anymore.
What was I just watching? I was just watching, I think, Busted by Peter Hyams, one of his more obscure ones with Elliot Gould and one of the guys who shot his wives. I can't remember his name. The Beretta guy, Robert.
Oh, Robert Blake.
Yeah, Blake. Uh, anyway, I just watched that, and I was amazed at how many people are in the shot. All the
Mhm.
extras. Now you see that, and something like I just saw Azazel. There's a limited number of people in the shot because uh, you got to pay those people. You got to
Mhm.
pay the locations now. You got to pay everybody. I'm all for that, but things have changed a lot in the past 50 years. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call that world expansion when you start adding different scenes and different people because it's a more of a reflection of a wider, bigger world. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah,
As opposed to the same three people in the same two scenes.
Well,
yeah.
That feels very claustrophobic, but
and
it's what only people can afford sometimes.
Right.
I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff too. Like, I don't like one location, five people talking,
Hard to
and
do.
barely anything happening. That's why I actually really gravitated toward Gothic Vampires from Hell, because there were scenes where, I mean, it wasn't just one location. It wasn't just like the goth club, or whatever. It could very well have just been a goth club, and that's the whole set, is that one night or something. And I would have probably not liked it, because what I like is scope. I like movies that feel like, there's only few, and Paul knows this, there's only few movies where I feel like they can, and it's usually done by a play or something, but they can be one location. And that was like Lifeboat with Alfred Hitchcock. Like, that's just a great movie,
Yeah,
period,
cube
and
stuff like that.
Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
could
So
have done Lifeboat with some vampires. That would have been awesome.
I don't think so,
Hold
because
on, let
like
me take some notes.
they would eat the people on the lifeboat. Then what? Then
No,
all
there
they
is a
sit
movie.
around and talk.
It'd be a tragedy because the sun's
It'd be
coming
a
up.
short. Be a short film. That's all. That's a great short film idea. Thank you, Paul. But not a feature. I don't think I could ever make that into a feature unless. But they did do the last voyage of the
Oh
Demeter
yeah,
or
Last Voyage
whatever,
of Demeter. Yeah.
Demeter, and that was all taking place on a boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it
And
was
that came from one chapter of a book.
yeah.
yeah.
I don't remember the director's name, but I love that guy. Is that the
Yeah, Andre
Troll Hunter?
Oldval or something.
Hmm.
That's Troll
Oldval.
Hunter guy, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
he's. I think he's prepping for a sequel for
nice.
Nice,
Troll Hunter.
Yeah,
nice,
Yeah, that'd be
yeah.
cool.
nice.
He
So,
did.
Fred,
Let me clarify one thing. When I said that we visited Bar Sinister for location scouting, we did not shoot there. I did not shoot the scenes with Crowley at the entry to the bar, nor the like the hand was it handheld, the scenes inside the clubs where they show the clubs. That I don't know what club that is. That's definitely not Bar Sinister.
yeah,
Uh,
I was going to ask. That was my next
yeah.
question: is where
Um,
you
uh,
were shooting at, and did David Sterling have places for you lined up for you to go to?
let me finish that thought, and I'll move on to that one. Uh, so I think that this was one of those films where Dave Sterling got a little extra money because I think because of
Cleopatra Records.
Cleopatra Records,
Yep.
and I think probably had some other coming. And I noticed the produced by has a bunch of other names that you don't know. I guess you don't. Maybe you don't normally see on a Dave Sterling film. And as I said, I worked on him with two other films, uh, Blood Legend and
Blood Legend. I reviewed that. Yeah, great
and
movie.
it sounds like a Kurt Vonnegut novel,
Oh,
Slaughterhouse
Death
Five.
Sisters.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that one. And those were all shot on one location. This guy's house, Randy. He always works with Dave Sterling. Randy something. Uh, I can't think of his name. He's a great guy. He just passed away this year.
Oh,
Oh,
It was a nice, iconic little tiny house in LA that he always shot at. Let me also okay. So uh, a lot of the scenes in Gothic Vampires from Hell were actually shot in a music building where bands practiced.
ah.
It sounds like a great idea, except for the audio guy,
Hmm.
because you always hear you can always hear the thumping from another room. Uh, so a lot of those scenes, especially with the bar, so we see the band practicing. That's
Hmm.
supposed to be like one of those music buildings that bands rent and perform practice in. But other scenes, like there's a party scene with Manson's one of Manson's progeny. That's shot in one of those rooms as well. You can tell
oh.
they're small, like probably maybe 20 by 20, more like 10 by 15 or something rooms. If you go back and watch, it'll probably look really obvious.
And I had to say too, the other big plus in the film was the music. There was some great stuff in there from bands that I knew. So how much of that was like your involvement, or that just come with the money from Cleopatra Records?
Uh, when I started, I met with Dave Sterling, and he handed me CDs, a pack of CDs, and I just listened to them all. And I picked a bunch of movies, and he chose some and didn't choose some. Uh, I would have to go back and listen to everything to really remember which ones I chose. But yeah, it's got some decent music in it. Yeah,
Hmm.
I was really surprised at some of the music I had for a Dave Sterling film. After working with him for those other two films, I was surprised to see this happen. It was
Yeah, typically when you have that level of music from those kinds of bands, that usually brings the production up because
Mm-hmm.
it costs so much money.
yeah, it should.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well it worked for Gothic Vampires from Hell, but yeah.
um, so yeah, so that was pretty cool. I very much enjoyed that. I some of the actors I think probably didn't play instruments. I think there were a couple of folks there that didn't weren't particularly convincing, but you know it happens. But I also read that a number of folks that were in some of the bands were utilized in various scenes and were various characters, and I wondered who. In fact, I thought Crowley might have been one of them.
There is one I remember specifically, and I don't see, you know what? I think I see it now. Soraya Bishop, maybe?
Oh, okay.
Uh, I, she doesn't have an image on IMDb, so I guess that's gonna work out for her career wise. That's the only person I remember. She was in a band or a musician, and well, hold on, maybe that's not her. I don't know. That's the name I remember. Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
that's her. That's Soraya Bishop is the only one I remember. And actually I remember her being the only one, but I'm not sure how accurate that is. Uh, uh, she came in and we worked with her. I don't remember her being terrible or anything. I don't remember her scenes that well. Yeah, she was good to work with though.
There were some other interesting folks floating in there. There was a little bit of S&M spanking going on. I wondered where that kind of came from. Was that stuff that you shot, or was that somebody else who put that in later on?
Are you talking about the internal bar scenes, or are you
Yeah.
talking? Those were that's the stuff that the other directors must have shot. Uh,
Oh, okay.
I did not shoot those. And like I said, those were not shot in the big bar, Bar Sinister. Bar Sinister is a great bar. Well, it's a bar, and every day it's a different theme. So on Saturdays it was Bar Sinister, and it had a up on top. It had two performing areas for BDSM, dominatrix type stuff. Uh, uh, it was really cool stuff. But that was not these bars. But I think they were trying to get a kind of some kind of facsimile of that, and that's what that was.
Did you have somebody there as kind of like a I don't know, somebody who kind of said this is kind of what goth clubs are like, or this is what the goth style lifestyle is like?
No, yes and no. We didn't have anybody outside of that, but me and the producer, Gina Devatori, was the producer. She's actually the main vampire, Anastasia.
Mm.
Her and I went to Bar Sinister and checked it out, and got the feel of it for that. I'm not sure how much of that information made it over to the next director for those scenes.
That must have been fun hanging out with Anastasia.
Yeah, she was really cool. She was totally professional. She wasn't just a lead trying to help out. She was really into the producing.
And she definitely is somebody else who's gone on to do a whole bunch of other things too.
Oh, cool! I haven't explored her beyond that, but I would imagine that would be accurate. Yeah.
So, did you cast the film, or did David Sterling have like a group of people?
We cast the film. I don't really remember much of the casting, the actual auditions or anything, but I believe I was given some pictures and I chose the pictures and I got them, and I chose most of the main cast, like the main band, and I believe Gina was already chosen. I think all the bad guys. I think Gina was chosen by Dave Sterling because they worked together before, and
in Dark World, I think.
I think the other vampire may have been Christy.
Okay.
Kristen Zeit. Kristen Zeit Vasquez. I think that she was. Yeah, I think I hired her as well. Maybe she was part of the band. Okay. Yeah, that was a while ago. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, I think she's another one who has done other things. So yeah, no, that's really interesting.
So my answer to the question was I selected a bunch of them, but a lot of people were given to me too, so that was fine.
And you said that you rewrote the screenplay. Who originally came up with the screenplay?
I believe it was Jeremiah Campbell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only two names on it, so it must have been him. And he worked with Dave Sterling a lot.
Yeah, he did the story for The Amazing Bulk, if I'm correct. So
yeah, a lot of people who worked with Dave Sterling worked together, and they're happy to branch off from Sterling.
Yeah.
Okay, so
to say it the nicest way.
So when you ended up changing things, was it more of like a plot thing, or did you change more like the dialogue? Or maybe both.
I got the script, and I fine tuned a lot of other things, added some dialogue, and I opened it up for a sequel too, which I do see some of that footage in the final cut.
Yeah, we noticed that. We figured there was room for a sequel.
Yeah, but when I watched the film, I saw a lot of my stuff was gone, and that was fine. I still have the originals. I think I still have the script that I had. I haven't looked at it in decades, but definitely a museum piece at this point.
I don't suppose there'll be a director's cut coming out anytime soon.
I'd rather work on something else. Yeah, or make something new.
Well, and the thing is, and Jonathan mentioned the other movie that I love from that period is the same thing, Dark World. I love that movie. It's also kind of a weird, stinky vampire movie. Dark
movie?
World.
Dark World.
And I don't know that you can get those. David Sterling, why aren't you releasing those films?
That's the thing with working with Dave Sterling. One really weird thing is I went to film school in '94. So I was in rural Louisiana in the 80s and 90s. So like, as you guys probably know, the video boom, you could rent stuff everywhere. You could rent video movies at the gas station. And that's what I did. I mean, I did all the video stores, and I was actually, I think I found some stuff online too. No, mail order at that point. Um, uh, but I moved to LA and met people who knew Dave Sterling, and I had never heard of any Dave Sterling film, and I got the idea that like art, it has a ripple effect from where it comes from, and that ripple effect just never made it to Louisiana. Uh, his stuff is so low budget, it just didn't get too far, you know. And yeah, he doesn't. I still look for some of his stuff every now and then.
He
Um,
he's been putting some on Tubi, so there are some stuff he's one of those guys who and I really don't care if he sees this or not, but he unfriended me on Facebook because I wouldn't buy one of his movies, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I've talked to you for like forever. I've had him on my radio show. Doesn't
oh
ever
yeah,
remember being on my radio show. He doesn't like he'll
He's
talk
getting
to
up
me
there.
like he'll talk to me like he's just met me for the first time each time I talk to him. So it's just
well,
like, I love the dude, but he will try to sell you his movies on DVD or Blu-ray. And so he's really pushing that, because he's a
that's
self,
all he does. Yeah, I've been nice so far about his character, but I will say that there is a Dave Sterling support group for people who've worked with him. Uh, Schoenbrunn and Scott Spears, who did a lot of DP work for him. Uh, and I actually hooked some of my friends up with Dave Sterling, and they too, Joe Monahan, he worked with him and had a terrible experience. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Did he come on set a lot and maybe try to, interfere or at least tell you how
So,
to do things?
yeah, go faster, go budget, get it done, cut down the quality, so you can go faster, and then yell at everybody. Uh,
Mm.
he was.
Uh,
We have. There are some nicknames he's got that are probably insulting to short people, but yeah,
it's funny because nowadays a lot of what he does is he license out movies to other filmmakers that already can do this, like get it to him. Like Mark Polonia has done a lot of movies for him. Will Colazzo works a lot with him now. Like these guys can get the movie made in like a week or whatever, hand it to him, and then, he goes and puts the movie out, quickly or whatever.
I hope those guys are benefiting, especially. I hope they're making some money off of him. Yeah,
I think Mark does it basically he gets paid to do it, like he gets paid whatever his rate is, to do it, and then he goes and makes it himself.
yeah. I think that Sterling was working a lot with Asylum at the time, and
Mm.
Asylum would give him, from what I understand, Asylum would give him the money to produce it, and
Mhm.
a lot of that was his fee. So he would cut it down even further,
Yeah, because
cut the budget even further, and yeah,
we're at one of again one of those technological leaps where right now because of streaming content is now king again, so it makes sense to want to be able to put out a whole lot of product even if it isn't necessarily the best product, but take advantage of it by having it out there and then using streaming as a source of revenue. Now, from what I understand, people don't really get paid a whole lot through that, but I would imagine you're getting more money than, say, mail order DVDs now.
yeah. I assume that too. Also, based on what you just said, uh, the way he has some series and he's hiring other people to continue the series, that's probably a way he's making money too. Just having that, he's trying to do like the big guys, trying to do sequels and franchises. You know,
Camp Blood, he
Camp
has
Blood.
666, yeah.
yeah, he has the witchcraft movies that he's in charge of, and
Oh
Oh
so
yeah,
dear.
he's just
yeah.
doing all of these,
Oh dear.
those have been going on for since, like, I think they're on like number 16 or
Oh
something.
my
At
God. Yeah,
It's
least.
ridiculous.
I think I did look that up recently and saw some ridiculous number
Yeah,
for yeah, crazy stuff.
it's insane.
So you kind of came in, I guess, in the early 90s, and so you've seen the development that we have talked about with regards to independent film and how it, you get these technological jumps, and every time you do, there are certain movies that kind of get left behind that never never make it onto the new platform.
Right.
And then same thing, the next one now Blu-ray, and unless somebody goes back, like say Vinegar Syndrome or somebody else, and gets the rights and
Champions
says,
it.
"Hey,
Yeah.
let's put this out," because Jonathan and I have talked about the possibility of digging up some of these other movies that are just lost in the ether that we really like, that are just going to be there until somebody ponies up the cash and gets the rights and puts them out. And I hate to see that happen to certain movies that brought me enjoyment. And I imagine you've seen this develop over time.
Definitely. I in the '80s and '90s, my goal was to be a filmmaker and write fiction. And uh, I loved horror in general ever since I was a toddler. Really, I think I discovered Charles Adams in a library at like 6 or 7. Uh, uh, but I was looking at like the first films or the best of all the low budget things like Corpse Grinders from Ted V. Michaels, Ed Wood,
Yeah.
lots of other great directors. And I was, and it's fun to watch like Sam Raimi, move from his whole career to be a part of that from beginning to end was great. And that was my goal. But yeah, I saw a lot of you said technology goes up and then it just kind of plateaus and then something else better comes along and a lot of things get lost. Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely. Now my big thing is like, so you said you're the like you were in college for this in '94, '93 and everything was really the big indie boom thing, like with
Definitely.
Clerks and El Mariachi and Reservoir Dogs, all that early '90s stuff or whatever. Did you?
Linkletter too. Yeah.
Yeah, were you a guy who like looked up to those guys and wanted to sort of be a part of that?
Still do. Yeah, I look at their first films and just amazing work. It's Rodriguez and Kevin Smith. They're batting about 500 or lower at this point, but and Tarantino is still doing okay. Linkletter is an experimental. He's still working and still doing good stuff,
Oh
interesting
yeah.
stuff. They're still basically my heroes to actually go and make movies. Yeah,
Mhm.
And you got to be.
a lot of other horror directors that I wish I had a list I could tell you about. But not just Ted V. Michaels, but and Ed Wood, but others
John
too.
Carpenter,
Mhm.
Wes Craven. I mean, some of those guys started out on like smaller, low budget indie
Uh,
films and blew up.
Albert Pian, if
Albert
I'm saying
Pune,
that
yeah.
correctly.
I've actually interviewed him and met him. Great
Yeah,
guy.
great guy.
Unfortunately, he's passed away, but
I just passed away a couple of years ago. He was
yeah,
struggling too. He had some struggles there at the end.
Mm.
I
But,
know.
great work, Doll Man, Sword and
Yeah.
Sorcerer, Sword and
Now
Sorcerer.
I have to ask, because you were in LA at the time and you must have at least known or rubbed elbows or at least seen the folks who were involved with the Donald G. Jackson group, who were also shooting, low budget independent horror movies in LA at that time. And they would, famously just, make up stuff and just go out that day and just shoot things on a
Yeah.
movie. And you call up Joe Estevez and say, "Hey, let's go out and shoot something today." And he'd be like, "Sure." Robert Zadar, "Come out, let's go out and shoot a movie."
What was the name of the company again?
Well, it was Donald G. Jackson. It was just, I don't remember what his company is called, but he's the
Yeah.
guy who did Hell Comes to Frogtown and
Oh, okay. No,
Rollerblade.
I didn't get around much in LA or California. I was carless, and I got lucky with some connections, and wound up working for Dave Sterling. I did do some other work. But beyond that, I really wasn't connecting much. I wish they had social media back then. I probably would have done a lot better. Just connecting with people. I tried to branch out from the Dave Sterling crowd, but it just didn't work. And by 2006, I had some health issues and had to go back home to Louisiana. Uh,
Oh, that sucks.
yeah, yeah. I'm still trying though.
Hey,
I guess we all are.
And
yeah.
you're in Austin now, correct?
I'm in Austin, Texas. Yes. Yeah.
And you've been doing some writing since then. I think you've done a couple of books, haven't you?
I did a self-published book in 2016, but I changed my mind. Um, I made some mistakes with it, and I took it down, and I decided to go back the traditional route. So I am currently just working on short stories. I've got a couple of novels almost ready to go, but
Oh,
I'm trying
nice.
to build up some short stories, publish those, and hopefully get some notoriety. At the same time, I'm trying to get some short films together for possibly an anthology film.
Ooh, that sounds cool. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you haven't moved on from the concept of directing.
not at all. No, no. Like I said, those nights, those I was sleeping 4 hour nights, sleeping after shooting Gothic Vampires from Hell, and it was so exciting. Just the energy and the just the shooting of it is fun, but also finalizing it is also fun. Like to try and do a good movie. You know?
Well, I mean,
Sure.
that's what it sounded like you were trying to do before, but David Sterling kept kind of pushing for just the quality to be less and less
Yeah,
just because he wanted it to be done, you
yeah,
know.
I was trying to do something for Dave Sterling, and so that I can get my foot in the door, and hopefully someone else would see that. But I think if we had gone faster, and the eventual product was the screenplay I redid, which I think I would have had a better I think I would have had better luck at that.
Mhm. Well, you're now in Austin, and there's a pretty good independent movie scene down there and in Texas in general. Have you made a lot of connections down there?
Just a couple right now. There are a lot of people here still making movies. Um, Linkletter started here. Rodriguez and Tarantino still sometimes shoot here, but those are the big guys. I am connected with a couple of people, but not much. I also haven't reached out in a long time. You know, ever since the pandemic, things have gotten weird. So
Yeah, it's a little weird now, isn't it?
at one point, I worked on a 24-hour film
Oh,
contest.
cool.
I did that, but right now I think up to pretty much 2015 to 2020, 2015 to 2021, I was working two jobs, always working two jobs, and now I'm just down to one. So I'm trying to branch out. I got a friend that has a really nice, I think a 4K camera,
Hmm.
a Red 7 and something else.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
I'm trying to work with him, and I got a friend that has a band that wants a couple videos made. And I actually just made a video a couple of years ago. I made a video for a band called Greyfeather. A
Sweet.
very close friend of mine, Marcus. Oh crap, I can't remember. Marcus. Wow, I can't remember my best friend's last name right now. So sorry.
Sorry.
Greyfeather's the name of the band. The music video is Pig Farmer. Yeah, it's on
Nice.
YouTube. Yeah, it's fun stuff. It was a very kind of intentionally bad 50s style monster fight, basically.
Well, it's
Nice.
great. I'm glad you're sticking to it because that's the other thing, especially in independent film. You lose so many people, sometimes the ones who aren't so great, but then you lose a lot of very talented people too, because to be able to make a living in this industry is so incredibly difficult. And even when the technology changes and makes it cheaper, it's
Mm.
still very, very difficult to do that 24/7 year round.
Worse, yeah, worse. I think I heard Don Coscarelli speak when he was showing Ravager 5 here, or Phantasm 5, Ravager. Uh, and he was talking about how it's terribly difficult to make a living as an independent filmmaker nowadays. He was doing it right back when he was doing Phantasm. But nowadays it's incredibly hard to make any kind of money. I think that's where one of my failures is that I thought that I could go and make a career making movies, and what I needed was a career and then go make movies. you know,
Right.
Mm,
And it's funny because you say that about Don Coscarelli, who was this big. I mean, he was a big time filmmaker back,
sure.
back in the day, and everybody loved Phantasm. And then
Yeah.
here he was struggling, and this was like the time, period. Like, it started getting harder because nowadays it's harder because of streaming. because everybody and the technology has gotten so good that anybody can pick up their iPhone and shoot a movie. And the problem is people are picking up their iPhone and shooting a movie, and it's getting out into the marketplace. 2020 hit, w- everything shut down, and Tubi became this like place where anybody could put anything up there. And we would review these movies done by this guy. His name's BC14. He is terrible. His movies are awful, and a lot of them are animation. So animation became a big thing. Like you could just make crappy animation in your
And
bedroom.
it's the same scenes utilized over and over and over, so that's very cheap.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very cheap and cheesy, and it's not that good. But he got like 10 of them out there, because of,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
2020, like in 1 year he was able to get a
Well,
whole
and then
bunch.
the other thing that's changed, and I imagine that you've picked up on too, is the fact that crowdfunding really kind of changed the landscape for independent films too, because in the 80s that really didn't happen. You had to go and dig up folks to produce
No,
your
you're right.
films.
Yeah, I follow Scott Shermer, who did Found.
Mhm.
He just started his next film called Gush, and he does all that. He raises his own movies. He raises money for his own movies. And Jason Trost, who did All Superheroes Must Die. Uh,
Uh-huh.
he's
Oh yeah,
still
I know that one.
Yeah.
in the FP series. I can't remember what that stands for anymore. But he's got, I don't know, he did 3 or 4 films for that. But they're both right in the middle of making their next movie, and I've been looking at their crowdfunding. Mostly Indiegogo, but yeah, I I'd like to think that it kind of eliminates that type of producer that people don't always get along with, as we talked about earlier. Someone like Sterling, you could give her to that person, and but I mean, nobody's making money, you know.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, I don't know that you can really finance a complete film through crowdfunding. I still think you're better off the traditional way, but utilizing crowdfunding as a sort of source for finishing funds or for doing extras or for post production
Well,
or stuff like that. Because I think if you're hanging your hat on crowdfunding, you're really kind of playing at the whim of pretty much everybody. And if people don't like what you're selling, they're not going to
well,
give you money.
exactly. And here's the thing. There's a company named the Mahal Empire, Productions, and they're these guys in Las Vegas who've been doing these movies since forever. And they got movies like Devil's Night coming out soon, and all these, Bermuda Island, and they do all these movies, and they crowd fund, but they basically use the same, source of, and people. So and a lot of it is pay for play. So the actors go in and they pay, to be a part, like they pay $500 or $5,000 or whatever, and they get to die in the movie or something like that. And
Right.
and it's great, but the problem is after a while, because they're the ones, because the actors are paying for it, and these are not professional actors. These are people who just want to be in the movie. When they're getting bigger parts than like an actor who has a little bit possibly more talent than that, they get the movie I think loses a little bit of quality. Thankfully, I think the Mahal brothers are doing amazing jobs, on casting and getting that stuff done. But
You have to send me one of their what you think is one of their good movies. Cool, I'll check it out.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I've been studying crowdsourcing for a long time, and I think maybe it's better to break it down to projects in the film. You know what I mean? Like you
Mhm.
said, like go in there for finishing funds or go in there for creative for just your special effects. Now I'm
Hmm.
not sure how much those crowdsourcing companies will allow that. Because when you make a film, there's all kinds of hidden costs, right? But things are going to happen, and your budget goes up, and the budget never goes down, does it? And you just need more money. You keep on needing more money, and even when you have a product, when you have a movie, you still need to go out and make the DVD or try and get a stream. You still need more money to continue that.
Mhm.
It's an
So,
ongoing effort, especially if you own the film.
so did David just kind of say, "Here's a check. this is what you make your movie on, and that's it, not a dime more, and it's in this account, and that's it? Or did he just stroke you whatever you needed on that particular day?
He said I could make this movie. I made the movie, and on the fifth day, he gave me a check at that bar, the bar I told you about. We met at the we had he bought me a burger, I think,
Mhm.
52-ounce burger, and we talked, and he fired me and wrote a check out.
It was literally an execution right there. Like it was like your last meal right there,
At
you
least you
know?
got a burger.
I, it was a fantastic burger. It was.
Oh, there you go.
If you're ever in LA at that bar, they're still around.
But I think what Paul was saying was like, did David Sterling have a lot of say in the actual film, like with
Right.
money? Like, did he come in and just pay for everything, or did he give you the money to pay for everything?
Oh no. He didn't give me anything but my paycheck.
Okay,
That sounds about right.
that
And
sounds right.
it was I think it was $600. So I only got 450 because I only did 5 out of 6 days. Um, he no, he'd come in and make sure you were doing everything right, and then
Right.
he'd yell at anything that wasn't that was costing money, or why aren't we shooting?
Did he say things like, "Why are these girls still have their tops on?"
uh, no, I no, but I'd imagine he might say something like that. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
funny.
The one scene that does have toplessness, I did not shoot that, but I did try really hard. Even when Jessica Remmers was okay with it, to try and make people look good, and that means sexy too. So we had some great moments, and I worked really hard with Jessica Remmers to not exploit that kind of sexuality unless you wanted to. We had a good time. She was fantastic, like we said.
She was drop dead gorgeous. I mean, she stuck out from that film like just about nobody else.
A great,
yeah.
gorgeous, and a great actor, professional all the way. I
Uh,
love working with
it's
her.
interesting
People
because I
even
don't know if you know some folks like Neil Breen, who was also in the indie business, but because he worked as an architect or at least at an architectural firm, he's able to finance his own films. And because he finances his own films, they tend to be vanity pieces involving him being the greatest ever, which is why we love covering his movies, because the vanity movie is one of my favorite kind of stinky movie that's out there. And these things are off the chart fun if you've ever seen any of them.
I recognize that name, but I don't know why. I probably saw it somewhere.
He's pretty famous.
What's the movie he's done?
So like Pass Through is one of the ones, and Double Down is another one, and God, he's got a whole bunch of them.
To look
And
him up. Yeah.
yeah, and these days I believe you can only buy them from him because he's gone on and to make sure that nobody else can have them. But trust me, they are worth finding.
That's interesting because that's what Jason Troth does. All superheroes must die, and he sells his own movies. So does Scott Shermer sometimes. But yeah, yeah, it's interesting. There is a business plan out there for being an independent production company, but you don't see it happening, only in small scale. I think right now somebody out there is becoming the new Full Moon guy, the new Corman, the new Lloyd Kaufman, but they just haven't got there. I think some other names. Donald Glut has been working a long time,
Yep.
doing all kinds of stuff, and there
Well,
was
we
One
did
of
we
his
did one of
movies.
his movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah. I was just there was one other guy I'm thinking of, but I can't think of his name. Yeah.
We so I do want to ask, like, because you worked with I think I'm gonna say Mara or Mara Marini, who was
Yeah.
in, like, I mean, she went on to be on like Parks and Recreation and
He did. Oh,
I
that's
mean
fantastic.
Schitt's
Yeah.
Creek, a ton of TV and movies and stuff like that. What was she like to work with?
I don't remember details, just ideas. But she was also everybody. Most of the actors, people who were there to become actors, they were all hardcore. And a lot of the center are the ones that I chose, like like Jessica Remmers and the main lead. I can't think of his name right now. Uh,
Oh, Michael Anthony Piniella.
Yeah, those are people I chose, and it was, I wanted to work with actors. When repeat your question one more time.
Well, I was just like, what was she like to work with?
Oh,
Was she easy?
I'll harp all as much as you want on Jessica Remmers, but everybody else was fantastic to work with too, and patient with our ideas, and like Augustin Brunuel, who did the death scene in the beginning, that really bloody one. Uh, they were all great to work with, and so was Mara Marini. All professional, and all people you know, at that time, I was hoping I was going to move on and make connections and work with some of these people again. And I would have worked with a lot of them again.
Any interesting production story that kind of make you shake your head, and when you think about it now, that behind the scenes might be interesting to those of us who are fans of the movie?
Um, the two major connections are Cleopatra Records, and I'm trying to find it on here. I don't see him, but the whole Charles Manson son thing.
He probably took his name off of it.
Ah,
Just
Well, he probably doesn't. Maybe he doesn't go by Manson. I suppose that's a
I
negative
wouldn't
thing.
think so.
Yeah, I
yeah,
would
I
hope
think
not.
they'd you drop that name after, especially if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are the son, legitimate son of him, you would go.
Well, the thing is, I think Sterling is gonna want that name out there for promotion.
Right, right.
So yeah, I'll have to look it up. I don't see his name up there right
The
away.
film starring Charles Manson's son. He's
Yeah,
like in it for two
exactly.
seconds.
That's totally Sterling. Sterling would do that. Yeah. I think I think the overall learning process and seeing there are some interesting Sterling picking and having access to a music place, a music practice building. If you've ever been, now I'm in Austin, I see it all the time, especially with my friend Marcus Villarreal. That's his last name. Sorry, Greyfeather. I've been with him at some of the music places where bands practice. It's all these soundproof small buildings. Uh, that's as maybe not as far as sound goes, but trying to rent one of those to shoot a. We also use the hallways, and bands would come out while they and break up the right in the middle of a shoot. Uh, that and working with the special effects guy and learning some of his stuff, working with the actors and understanding what they're trying to do and giving them the time to do that. The learning process, and not just one or two interesting facts or anything, but just the whole event, just the whole idea of it was uh, was great. It was just great.
So here's a question I always like to sort of give to some of our budget movie directors. If somebody were to walk up to you and say, "Okay, Fred, I'm giving you $1 million. Please reshoot this film," is that something you would do? And how would you change it?
This film,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
oh, well, I could definitely do it. I could do it here in Austin. We got bands. I could probably find the bands, get it all together. Look at me, I'm already ready. Let's go. Uh,
You
uh,
left room open for a sequel.
yeah, I did. Um, I would do it, but you're talking about a miracle because Dave Sterling probably owns the rights,
Yeah.
and he would probably go and make 20 or 30 films for that amount.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
But
and
true.
I would do something like that. Yeah.
well, and you're right. Like he owns the rights, and what I'm surprised he hasn't made a sequel out of this. I don't know what how well it did financially or whatever for him, but like I'm surprised he just because it didn't seem like it cost a lot of money to make it in the first place. So like why not make a
I mean,
sequel for it?
my feeling is that one and Dark World and some of the other ones of that period, he just didn't seem to really like overall, and I think he just kind of ignored them.
I think also maybe he was looking for another revenue stream through Cleopatra Records because I think he was hoping that this was going to be something more big budget, but he was
Hmm.
still using his old filmmaking formula of a 6 day shoot, uh, it didn't work, and he probably has some bad financial memories from that era that he
Yeah,
just doesn't want to deal with it, and
it
he's sticking.
reminds me a little bit of Donald G. Jackson again, who I bring up because he was doing horror movies and doing these weird, futuristic thriller movies. And all of a sudden, he got this opportunity to do these kiddie movies like Roller Gator and Little Lost Sea Serpent. And, what was the ghost one?
Baby Ghost.
Baby Ghost. And those are the ones we love because they're terrible, but they're fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he hated those movies afterwards. We talked with Scott Shaw, who was the producer on those, and he talked about how he ended up getting the Roller Gator puppet and tearing it up and destroying it in a fit of rage one night. And we're like, no, I'd give anything for that Roller Gator puppet.
Yeah.
That must have been a great story to hear, although a little depressing as far as that goes.
I know.
I wrote his name down for that one.
Yeah, Baby Ghost. You can actually find like a lot of those on YouTube for free because Scott took all the when after Donald passed away, like years later, he started putting everything on YouTube that Donald had so that people could see all of Donald's work and be
Yeah,
'cause
he
that was
was
the
like his
spirit of independent filmmaking right there.
legacy production guy because he worked with him a lot, and so when he left, the planet, he gave all that control over to Scott, and Scott either finished some stuff, or put out some stuff, or just took some things and just put it up for free, which is nice.
Yeah, I finished. I was going to say this earlier about budgeting and money and raising money and such, but I left Louisiana in 2015 and came here, and I had a short film and a web series. Short film was Get Inside, and the web series was non-horror called Bartenders Rule the Universe. It was all just bartender jokes.
Huh.
But I tried promoting those, and right then, when I moved here in 2016, YouTube says, okay, they raised they said you have to have this many subscribers with this much view time to monetize, which really hurt a lot of people trying to start off like myself. I just gave up on making money on YouTube. There was no way I could do that. So hopefully Jackson is doing better at that than I am.
Yeah, Jackson unfortunately passed away, but Scott Shaw will hopefully
I'm sorry,
be
Shaw.
doing.
Okay.
Yeah, he hopefully is doing. I don't know. I don't think he's monetizing. I think
I
he's
don't think
just.
so. I think he's just putting it out there
I think
so
he's
that,
just putting it out
again,
there.
things don't just vanish.
Was that the architect, or was that was Brill the architect?
No, that's Neil Breen. That's
Breen.
yeah.
It's Neil Breen. Yeah. He's funny, man. He also lived in Las Vegas. He lives in Las Vegas, and he does not. We found out from another person who knew him personally that he will not like because we wanted to do an interview with him, right? He won't do it online because he doesn't trust online. So we'd have to actually meet him in person to do the interview.
Which is fine by me.
Wow. Yeah, you
Oh,
go to Vegas, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I see that a lot. I see a lot of people who want to be filmmakers, and they have no. I don't have a good social media presence as far as a filmmaker goes, but you need to have that nowadays. You got to. That's the only way you're going to make it.
Yeah, come on, Fred. You got to get your own website going on. You got to
Yeah,
jump
I don't
on
have a
social
website or
media.
nothing. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And you have to market yourself really, really big now. And we do a company called Sick Flick Productions. That's our film production company. And the big thing with what we're doing is like cinematic universes, like like Marvel and stuff like that on low budget scales, or whatever, because that's a big thing of what people want these days. People don't want to just watch one movie. People want to binge watch things.
That
Right.
and what you're talking about is that kind of, we have the capacity now, the capability to make something look big budget if we would just stop just showing talking heads.
Right.
They
Well,
have
and
to
then
have the skills.
the other thing too is that you go there, and if you're looking for backing, you can say you're not just backing one movie. You're backing something that's part of a universe where there's all these interconnected characters, all these interconnected stories. We can do stuff on the web. We can do stuff on TV. We can do stuff in comic books. We can do a whole variety of different things, and that is what you're buying into.
I think that's where Jason Trost, the director of Superheroes, All Superheroes Must Die. I think that's where he where he prevailed. His series, the FP. I'm trying to remember what that stands for. Uh,
Uh,
I don't see it right now. FP. No. Anyway, he's got 4 films in that series. I think that's where he's. Are you still there? Yeah, there you are.
yep.
Um, I think that's where he succeeds the most because that's his most popular series
Mm-hmm.
as a low budget regional independent director.
Have you ever thought about doing something that was kind of more interconnected, that sort of expanded from one story into, multiple stories?
I see it more like Stephen King's fictional worlds because I write fiction, and I'm trying to just make the the anthology film I have in mind is right now is based on some short stories I wrote, and I'm trying to publish those, and I want to try and make those into movies. One of them is already done. One of them is already published. It's called A Haunting We Must Go. I published that in 2013 on a defunct magazine called Bête Noire. Uh, anyway, I want to make that into a short film. Anyway, to answer the question, I want to make something more like Stephen King's universe where I have all these recurring characters, but not necessarily a series.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
the FP stands for the Fraser Park, I guess. That's the
That, that sounds right. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that I like to look at that. I think I have All Superheroes Must Die on Blu-ray from like the Dollar Tree,
Yeah. Yeah.
and stuff, which that used to be fantastic when you could go to the Dollar Tree and
Sure.
buy a movie. Now you barely can. They don't put those out anymore. Like I feel like physical media is not dying, but it's on life support, like
I think I'd like to think it's evolving into. I'd like to see more, and I don't know if I've seen it yet. I don't think I have. I'd like to see more of these independent directors. I'd like to see more of the boutique video companies like Vinegar Syndrome, Arrow, those companies. I'd like to see them people go after these uh, low budget guys, like all the people we're talking about here, and try to get some videos, even if you can't do a 2K scan, 4K scan, and you can't improve the quality. Like Blonde Death. Blonde Death was done, I think, by uh, I can't remember. The Blonde Death was saved and redone by I need to know that guy's name. Joseph Zimba, who I can't think of his company's name right now. He's really good. Anyway, the evolution of physical media. I'd like to see these companies champion those movies and those filmmakers, and I would also like to see them start putting out new release movies by these guys. There's no reason they can't do that. These guys they're selling their own DVDs and movies. They need an outlet for that beyond streaming because
Mhm.
it's the horror genre and the genre film, cult type films in particular, that people want the physical media. They want that media. If you look at everything these companies did, it's all the cool cult films. It's not. They're not trying to do Mission Impossible.
Oh, right. And plus, when you have the physical media, you actually own it, and it's not like you're renting something from a corporation that can just take it away from you whenever they want to it. But the other thing that I like to sort of underline your point is that, these days it's only the folks who are doing independent films who are really doing stuff that is different, that is envelope pushing, that is kind of out there, because this is happening at a time, and this is where Mr. Moody and I kind of differ. I just Hollywood is failing. They're just doing the same stuff over and over and over and over. They seem quite bereft of creativity because they don't want to take the chance anymore. It's too financial for them to do anything really cutting edge or that pushes the envelope. It's a safer bet for them to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And as somebody who loves to watch movies, I'm so sick and tired of that. I want to see new stuff out there. I really do.
Yeah, I think that we talked about the '90s earlier, and it seems like all the studios made independent arms uh, and took over some of that type, some of that event that was going on, all those independent films. And I think we're way overdue for an independent movement where the films get out. I was just watching. I just watched the It's Alive trilogy from. Oh, my brain's just fried today. Uh, Larry
And Larry Cohen.
Larry
Like
Cohen.
Cohen. Hmm.
He rode the rails, I think, of independent, but working with the studios. And
Right.
more, I think there's people out there like that. I think they're doing great films, and a little bit more money could help them, but also a distribution system that helped them out making that money.
Well, okay. So this is a good point because I love that. So I'm a very big I love Hollywood as Paul said, but I also love the indie scene as well. Like I'm 50-50 on that stuff. And what I've been noticing now is that the big tent pole, and I posted this on Facebook the other day. The big tent pole movies that are getting out there, like Red One that just got released, it was like a two to $300 million movie, or whatever, with The Rock, and it's all of Santa Claus, and and I don't think it did very well. I don't think it made its money back and everything. And
Yeah,
what is if when that bombed, I think what they started realizing right after that, or now they're starting to realize that they need to go back to the old model of putting out movies that are like $20 million or less, where the people have the where movies like Paul wants, the more the ones that aren't based on a novel, aren't based on, a children's thing.
Or stuff
franchise,
that's happened before.
a franchise, a series, or a superhero.
Right.
They all have established audiences, and that's all the studios are doing.
Right, because they're
Yeah,
scared,
yeah.
and
And you look at what has triumphed this year. Terrifier 3 was the big thing. Long Legs was a great film. The Substance. These were all more independent kind
I've
of
heard
films.
Strange Darlings was amazing. My brother just
Right. And
ranted about that.
they are not playing it safe and doing the PG-13, let's get every 12-year-old kid in there
Yeah.
too. They're going for it, and I love it.
If they don't take the cue from Terrifier 3, then they're stupid. I'm
Well,
sorry.
and
What he's doing is amazing.
yeah, and Blumhouse used to be like that though. Blumhouse put like the Insidious movies out, and
Yeah,
even though they were PG-13, they were pretty scary, for that stuff or
24, I
whatever.
think, did it better.
yeah.
And then
I think also Neon, Neon and A24 are just they're trying that elevated horror, and some of them are good, but not all of
yeah.
Mm.
Well, like stuff like, I mean, Paul Loves the Witch,
Robert Eggers. Oh, he's amazing.
and that stuff like that. And they'll do stuff that's like out of like left field, like they did that one movie that you made me watch, Paul,
them.
for What the F Friday, which was The Lobster.
Oh,
That
yeah.
movie is so weird, and so, but no, Hollywood would never put that out because that's just too, like, they don't understand it, and it's not, it's not safe, as Paul said. So like,
Right.
A24 was doing really well. I think they've gotten a little bit too much money now. And that's might be the problem, is once you get a little bit too much money, you start thinking you can be just like the Hollywood guys, and then you start kind of playing it
Mhm.
safe, and you don't want to lose that money and everything.
I want to follow the guy. I want to follow Sam Raimi, who does Evil Dead, the Evil Dead trilogy, and stays there, and keeps making movies like that.
Mhm.
I'm not that he didn't do fantastic after that, but my
Well,
point
yeah, I
is,
mean,
yeah,
A Simple Plan was amazing.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Gift was amazing. I mean,
I
he
love The
did some
Gift.
great, yeah. Well, The Gift was The Gift of Us All with Katie Holmes, but
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Kate
but
Blanchett for me.
if someone would just not, some people want to go up and go play with the big boys. There's directors out there like we were just talking about. All the people I just mentioned, Jason Trost and Scott Shermer, also Corey McAvey, American Astronaut, and
Mm.
Stingray Sam. They're they pride themselves in being independent. I'd like to see someone just give them a bunch of money. I wish that would happen, and give like Damien Leone and Eggers. Somebody needs to come up and say, you know what, I want you to go make a movie, and we're gonna just be an independent company.
I can't wait for Eggers' Nosferatu to come out.
Yeah.
Just waiting and waiting, waiting. But I think you're coming back in at a good time. if you're when you're doing your short stories. And my only thing is, what I would say is don't play it safe. Push it. Whatever it is that's the heart of your story, make it happen and do it in spades and really
Yeah.
go for it, because I think we're at a time where that would be rewarded.
Yeah, I think that's why Terrifier is doing well because it's different.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, and
All these films, Substance isn't that different. It's society revamped, right?
e-
Um,
exactly.
but society revamped to just the one character. But it's not new, but it's different, and
Right.
that's what the uh, independent films of the '90s did. They were all different. You
Well,
know?
and I love that because like you saying like all these independent films and they're all of a sudden they're getting more out there like Damien Leone. Damien Leone, I got asked if a studio wanted to make part three, and they said you have to change your opening kill and everything, which was kids being killed and stuff like that, which
You're telling them to not do what you want. You're telling them to not do what they do to succeed.
Right. Don't
right.
be yourself.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, is
And
anybody telling Eggers not to do something? Is anybody? No.
no.
Or Guillermo del Toro. You're going to tell him how
Well,
to make a
Right.
movie?
Yeah.
I
Forget
Yeah.
it.
almost I almost wish
Take
somebody
my
would have
million.
I almost wish somebody would have told Eggers because the Northman should have been cut way down. Like I
Okay.
feel like that movie is
I dug it.
way too long. It's a good movie, but I feel like it had some slow points to it where I was just like after a while, I got ADD, man. I need my movies to just kind of not be so slow and
He's a
stuff.
millennial.
Yeah. So I mean, no, I'm not just a millennial. I'm a millennial with ADD. So like, there's, I'm what those, like Marvel was really doing really well for me for a
The
while
second. Yeah.
until all of a sudden they got into like their agendas and their issues and all these other things. I got bored. I was like, I don't care about this stuff anymore.
Let's not talk about DC. I love James Gunn. His
Yes.
early work,
We're big James Gunn fans.
Yes.
Superhero and Slither. He
Yep.
was. I thought he was on the way to becoming so at least something like Sam Raimi. Now he's heading the DC Comics.
Well, hey, he
I'm
got
still
to do
curious.
something. It was probably his dream to
Yeah,
be a studio head. You
he worked with
know,
Chroma. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, he worked with poor Lloyd, and everything. We actually interviewed Lloyd a couple of
Nice.
years ago,
Awesome.
and he was the nicest freaking guy in the world.
Him and Corman are like they're just laid back.
And
Really,
Band is pretty laid back. I don't know if you've ever gotten a chance to meet him.
no,
He is super nice, just which is so weird because you think like I've met him and I met one of the producers for the Asylum. All of them are just super nice people, like, period. Like all of them just are like, laid back dudes, and everything. You're like, really? You're the one who running like this
Of
huge
course, you
company?
didn't work for them. That's a whole different story. I
Well,
mean,
no, I did. I
Roger
did.
Corman was famous for squeezing a nickel until it cried.
Well, I got to
well,
act in an Asylum movie. Remember that? So I got to do that. But
I
that,
heard I had heard that um, band had trouble paying people back in
mhm.
the '90s, and I'm not always a fan of him, but maybe I'm wrong, but I still love the films that Full Moon puts out.
He
Well,
had that Italian castle to pay for.
well, yeah, it wasn't just that. I mean, he had Paramount money for a long time, and then that got cut off. So then they
Yeah,
had to figure out what money they had left to make what they could and to pay with what they could. So
yeah,
I never get mad about that. I feel like a lot of that is business and it sucks, and everything. But it's a choice that a lot of studio guys have to make at some point is like, and if those people that didn't get paid well or didn't get paid at all, that sucks. But I mean,
yeah.
I don't know much about that.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Like I said, making any kind of movie is fun to do, even if you wind up some of them wind up making a whole studio, Full Moon
Mm.
or Corman. Yeah.
And
Yep.
do you kind of view this one as kind of like your baby, even if it's kind of a little bit of a misbegotten baby and somebody else kind of took it over at the end? Do you not really have feelings for it, or do you still do?
Well,
So Mike,
I'm hoping it's that film that people have to dig up and not remember, as opposed to my next two, three, four films that are going to obviously be fantastic, but and probably won't be. But I try to see
oh, stop that.
I see it as my loving mistake, Yeah, something like
You,
that.
you know
Uh,
what? It was your kidnap baby.
There you go.
Kidnap baby.
Yeah, you got kidnapped from you. So,
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah. As far as the cinematographer goes, he wanted to make a better film. I did want to make a better film based on Sterling's guidelines, but yeah, that was
yeah.
my goal. It didn't work.
one of the guys we interviewed was Jeremiah Morehouse, and he directed the what is it, the biker babe versus the zombie baby apocalypse from
No,
hell,
no,
something
not
like that.
Apocalypse. Yeah, it was a biker warrior babe versus the zombie babies from hell.
From hell, yeah. Now, with a name like that, you know it's only going to go so far, but it's also a labor of love, and
It is, yeah.
he
A lot of people were talking about that's what it is. Yeah,
and
Yeah.
I love stuff like that because who doesn't want to see a movie with that kind of a title? And it was fun, and yes, there were definitely some sticky parts, and we actually had him come on the show, and we got to talk to him about it, and I think like yourself, he was just kind of happy that people remembered or saw the film and were talking about it, because otherwise it just goes away, and
hmm
you
yeah,
know.
it does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's into obscurity, which kind of sucks. For independent art.
And then
Um,
he came on the show for us and did some reviews. Well, that was fun.
yeah. He was
Cool,
one of the
cool.
few directors that actually came on to like review other people's movies and stuff. So it was fun having him for, I think he did two or three, something like that.
And it's
Yeah.
nice because we've also had the opposite effect where we've had a couple of directors who were not very pleased with the things we had to say about movies. And, we always say, we're going to be honest with our feelings, and we're going to back it up with the examples of what we say. And it may not necessarily be exactly what you want to hear, but it's going to be honest.
I mean, also we review the movies based on what we see, right? So we see the
Yeah,
finished product of the movie. So this is the movie you put out. Like if anybody reviews my film Scary Story Slumber Party, right?
Yes.
They only see what I put out. They don't see all the hard work I put into making the movie, right? They see what I put out. So as a filmmaker, that's what I have to concentrate on is like, it if they don't like the movie that I put out, that's their right, because I put it out for anybody to see. I didn't just put it out so my parents and my family and my friends can see. I put it out so the whole world can see. And that's what people, and some people like something, some people won't,
I,
like
I think that sometimes for a director, there's the experience of making the movie and the product, and sometimes they think of it as one, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like it was a
hmm
great experience, but yeah, the movie not so great. But I've fallen in love with almost any filmmaking movie. Like Bowfinger, Ed Wood,
Hmm.
and
Ed
Living,
Wood's my favorite.
Living in Oblivion. The that's the feeling of making a movie. It's fun, even if you come
hmm
out with Plan 9 from outer space.
Yeah. Well, Plan 9 from Outer Space is a great movie for
It,
its
it, it, it's
independent film. You
it's
know,
fun to watch. That's what a movie's supposed to be.
It's
It's supposed to be fun to
extremely
watch.
entertaining. Let's put it
and
that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, that's it. I would rather watch that than like any of the new Marvel movies,
yeah.
because
I haven't seen a Marvel movie in years.
I know. Well, I do watch all of them, and I'm just kind of
Yeah,
disappointed. I feel like
yeah.
they just have money, and then they like, except for Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought that was fantastic, and that was because the studio let Ryan Reynolds do what he does,
Guardians
and
of the Galaxy too.
yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy with James Gunn.
Yeah.
You know, James Gunn knows what he's freaking doing. This is why I think he's going to be great with the DC suite.
I didn't mean to talk negatively about him. I'm hoping he does well.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, but I want to see him directing stuff too.
Well, I think what you were trying to get at was that you wanted to see him directing more, which he is. He's got the Superman movie and stuff coming out, but
Yeah,
you also want to see him making movies that aren't the cookie cutter
The Specials,
comic book.
wasn't that the one he did?
Yeah, he did the specials. Specials could have been better than
It was
we
still
reviewed
fun
that
though.
one. It was still fun, but the problem with it was too much talk and not any superhero action
Well,
and
that's
stuff.
where the money goes.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's a great movie. It's a lot of fun, and it's got like Paget Brewster
Seen that one.
and
I'll check it out.
Rob Lowe,
Oh,
and
love Paget Brewster.
yeah, it's great cast, so
But that's kind of where the idea of Indie Film Cafe came from because, there's lots of people out there talking about the Marvel movies and talking about the Disney movies and talking about the big tent movies. There's only a small niche group of people who are talking about the indie, low budget, no budget kind of films. And we kind of do it differently than, say, Mystery Science Theater or Red Letter Media. We have a different approach than I think those guys do. And I think most of the time that's appreciated, not necessarily all the time.
yeah.
A couple of
Well,
folks
yeah,
were not
some of the
happy.
directors, some that don't like when we, talk about their movies or whatever, but you know what? We're honest. We're not saying anything. And I always try to be positive with my stuff, like period. Like because I know the plight of an indie filmmaker, and how hard it is just to make anything, and get something done. So
Yeah, yeah.
like that's a big part of it, and I could not I couldn't work on a Sterling movie. I can barely shoot a short film in 6 days, like or whatever, like I would want things to be more meticulous. My camera guy would go crazy because he's like me. We don't like to we want to set up everything, all the lights and the look and everything. We don't want things shadows and all these other issues that come up, and that comes up when you lose quality, you know.
Yeah, I have in 2015 I had some money and my mom passed away and I had a little money so I bought a couple of HD cameras, DSLRs. You could shoot HD on them, and
Hmm.
that was the going format. And then it was 4K. Now it's whatever. But I could go out right now and shoot something with those. But is it going to get me what I want? Is it going to get me? Am I going to get it on streaming? Am I gonna get people to see it? How much is out there for me to promote it? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
How many tools are out there for me to promote it?
Oh,
None.
a lot of tools.
Well, when it's just HD though, should I wait and get a budget and find other people to help me, or should I just
I,
go out there and shoot something?
I think it's always good
Both,
to
both
be
hard.
able to make something and be able to point at someone and say, "Look, I took this project from beginning to end. Here's a full, complete movie." Because that's the lowest bar that a lot of people can't even cross. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
True.
let me give you an example of this. So, you're asking if you could take your DSLRs, which is what we used for a lot of our movies back before the 4K became the thing. However, most of the time all YouTube is generally in 180p. It is not in 4K because people have to have a 4K television in
Right.
order to see it. And right now 4K televisions aren't as popular as people actually
Not
like
in this
making it.
economy.
No,
No,
that's good
so
because
they're too
uh,
expensive.
they always say when new technology comes along, only the drug dealers have them.
Right. Yeah. So and so what I'm saying is like you shooting a movie, like just go out, shoot something, put it up on YouTube. Don't
Yeah.
worry about monetization. Just get your following going, networking, social networking.
Hone
That
your
is the
craft.
big thing. Hone your
Yeah,
craft. Work. Because that's what we're doing. Like
Yeah.
2025, we have like I don't know how many shorts. We got like 5 or 6 shorts and a couple series that we're working on, and a feature film that we're trying to get done.
And
So it's just content,
the other point I really want to make, and I'm hoping and presuming you'll probably agree with this too. I mean, technology is one thing, but the heart of any good film, short, feature, whatever, is going to be an excellent script. And that is the point where You don't have to spend the most money. You get your story, you hammer it into a point where it is good, and then that's when you proceed. You don't want to go with a half-ass script or a half-ass story where it hasn't been thought out and things don't make sense. That's where it bugs me, because
Mhm.
people will make these half-ass movies where they haven't thought about stuff. I'm like, why wasn't this fixed way before you spent any money? You know what I mean?
I don't understand someone like Dave Sterling who wants to be a filmmaker but doesn't know how to write. Doesn't write anything himself. He probably adds his own information, but he doesn't physically write. Those are the best filmmakers historically. Uh, Lucas wrote Star Wars. You know, Spielberg did Spielberg write some of his stuff? I can't remember.
Can't recall.
Uh, but like
I think he
Raimi,
has
Raimi wrote it.
stories. I think he did stories. Like he came
Yeah.
up with ideas for like Close Encounters from the Third Kind is his original idea and stuff. Like that was based on a short he did when he was in actually
Yeah, somebody else scripted it.
feature
Yeah.
that it was based on a feature that he had done back in his high school years that nobody's allowed to see because Steven Spielberg does not want people to see his low budget feature film that he did where he got what is it his band people, the band people at his school to do the orchestra for his music, for
Yeah.
his composing. Like that right there shows you what a kind of like a real filmmaker is,
Yeah. Yeah.
like as a young age.
Goes
you
out
know
and tries to make what he can, just like Ed Wood getting that church to fund his stuff, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's like make it work, figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
exactly. Well, thank you, Fred. This has been an amazing chat with you
Yay.
and
Thank
everything.
you.
We
I had a
really
good
had a
time.
great time, and we definitely love like what you're doing, and we really want to see more films. Like we always tell people like even if we didn't like the movie at all, like say we thought it was like the worst thing, we still want their next movie to be better, and
Yeah.
Right.
everything.
And if
And we
it's
will
something we
still
really
watch it.
hated, we would never would have brought it up on the show to begin with.
Right.
Cool, cool. I don't understand some filmmakers who stop making film. I mean, just like Tarantino, he says he's gonna stop. That's it. He's done. No, artists don't stop. It's still everything's still going on, you know. I haven't given up. Still trying. I'll
Yeah.
try. I'll keep on trying till the day I die. So that's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy that after I kind of tracked you down, that you didn't think we were just a bunch of weirdos and decided to chat with us.
No, this is the first time anybody's ever contacted me for anything like this. It's been
Okay.
fun and exciting. Thank you very
That's
much.
kind of a
Appreciate it.
bummer though, because like the movie's out there,
Yeah.
like it's on Tubi, like people can watch it. I don't know why podcasters haven't, I guess because Tubi is a little full,
A little
there's a lot,
saturated.
a
Well,
little saturated.
I think a lot of people cut off their DMs for some social media. Uh, uh, I'm not sure if I try to be approachable in social media, especially for situations like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
Well,
Okay.
you're exactly the kind of guy that we want to reach and
Cool, cool.
spotlight on our show.
Well,
Well, I hope one day you have me on again for something else. That'd be
yeah,
very
that's our plan. Like,
cool.
that's why we want people to keep making movies so we can keep talking about them
Absolutely.
and getting them out there. We promote indie filmmakers and indie, so if you have something that you like a trailer or a short or something you want us to promote, just let us know. Hit up one of us and we'll promote it on our Facebook page and stuff like that in our group,
Cool.
that
Thank
we
you very
have.
much. I'm trying to get to the point where I can start raising money for something.
Yeah.
But
Well,
for now, I'm mostly just writing for Psycho Drive-In, writing about movies. I
Oh
got
yeah, what's going on with that? Tell us.
I do a column called Director Roundup, where about 15 years ago now, I saw a lot of movies that were coming out that were all there's a lot of good stuff out there, a lot of good stuff that we talked about. The Troll Hunter director, and a couple other filmmakers, Trost and Scott Shermer, Corey McCabe, or Maccabee. I try to keep up with what they're doing and what they got coming out. So I do that in Director Roundup, and I'm actually starting a new column. I'm not sure if it's going to take off. It's calling it an indexing article. So a couple of years ago, I work at a Half Price Books, and somebody a couple of years ago, I took out the trash, and we recycle a lot there. And on the top of the trash was a stack of newsletters. Turns out to be uh, Joe Bob World. We are the
Oh,
weird.
Oh, nice.
All newsletters. I grabbed them, probably about 30 of them. And this year I read one of them. And I decided to make an article based on the newsletter where I go over all the different columns and I look and see where they are, where people are now, where the films are now. And that's where I learned a lot about I learned more about Donald Glut and some other directors and some other films. Some great stuff out there. That's all under the surface that people just don't see at the theater at all. You know, some good stuff. I hope that type of article takes off. Tons of links in there. Pretty soon, Brian, who does the website, will put that up. See how it goes.
Nice.
that's great. Please provide us with a link so that we can put it out there too.
We'll do. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And please do us the favor and let everybody else know about Indie Film Cafe. We'd appreciate that.
I definitely will. As soon as this comes up, I will definitely share this with friends and family and everybody else until I make it. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, we really
you.
appreciate it because we love, like we said, we love independent filmmakers
Mhm.
and art and everything. And that's how Paul and I bonded is, we would watch, we would have a double feature night where we would watch, he picked something, I picked something, and then we watch both of them. And then after a while, we're like, let's just do a podcast about this, and
Cool.
stuff
Cool.
because we're already talking about it while we were watching it.
And we're
So,
gabbers.
yeah. So
This has been a great experience. I get to talk about all this. My friends and family don't want to hear all this, and people.
yeah, mine either,
Yeah.
so they're very happy I started this so I can have my outlet,
Cool. Yeah, I suppose so. Great stuff. Thank you all very much for having me.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks for coming on the show, Fred. We really appreciate it. And good luck on your next endeavors.
Thank you very much. I'll see you all online. Cool.
Yep. And everybody, thank you guys so much for checking this out and check Fred's stuff out. We'll leave the links up there and we'll be back hopefully next month, but who knows? Like we don't have anything set yet, so we
gotta
just never know.
chase
We
down
kind
our
of
next victim.
Yes, we'll have
Yeah.
to chase down our next victim. I think I have a list of people, so we'll see who comes on next. Until then, everybody, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.